Well, howdy, budget-friendly backpackers. Dave here, coming at you with another edition of Off-Grid. I'm into backpacking, hiking, camping, and gear. And this video is going to be all about how to save you some cash. I'm going to give you the dirty secrets on how I was able to save hundreds of dollars on pieces in my kit and hopefully be able to relay some of that information over to you guys so that you can save some big bucks on some of those bigger ticket items. Not only bigger ticket, but also smaller ticket items here. I'm going to run down an exhaustive list here. This one's going to run a little bit long. It's primarily geared towards you newer backpackers who have already caught the bug but haven't necessarily made the plunge into getting those really expensive, bigger ticket items. But if you are a seasoned backpacker, maybe you can get a little bit of something from this as well. So let's just dive right into the goodies today. I'm going to split this video into two different parts here, not to be like Nixon. We've got the first part that is going to be all about kind of giving you the different avenues, right, that you can go down to try and find those deals. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to rifle through real quick all of the different savings that I was able to get while basically utilizing the first portion of this video and using all of those different avenues that I'm going to get into. So let's get into the different options that I have for you right now as far as how you can end up saving money on those pieces of gear. Because backpacking is really just an expensive way to act like a hobo when you're out in the backcountry or a homeless person. So here's some of the options that I have for you. A lot of it is going to be online nowadays. I do have a couple of options that are more like in person or just with other people, but let's just dive into the options for you today. The first of which is going to be obvious. We got Amazon, right? Online, a marketplace and a seller, a lot of different good stuff on there. They do have a lot of brand names. You're not going to be able to find some of the more niche and smaller cottage vendors on there. Some of them are on there, but you're not going to really find good deals. So Amazon is really, I kind of view Amazon as like rounding out the list, right? Kind of getting you smaller knickknack type of pieces. You're not going to necessarily want to get the bigger ticket items there. A lot of people go there when they're first starting out in backpacking, but I would just say avoid it for the bigger ticket items. I'm talking about smaller stuff. Maybe you want to get like your water filter from there, maybe a dirty water bag or a flashlight or smaller things, ditties and whatnot. You can usually find there to kind of round out the kit. Biggest pro tip that I have for this one here is utilize your account and your wish list to find when certain prices drop or when they're usually normal and when you can expect them to drop. You can use other third-party apps as well to kind of track and graph out what the price points are for these different things that you have in your wish list, so you can kind of know when it's a good deal and when to attack it. Don't have any suggestions for the third-party apps. Kind of have to figure that out. I kind of just go on and religiously check almost every single day and kind of know what the normal price is and when it kind of goes on sale. But you're not going to usually find huge deals on there. For almost all of these on here, I would recommend waiting until a particular holiday. Amazon in particular, they have their own Amazon Day deals. I don't know exactly when those days are, but you can look that up and figure that out. But it really depends on the seller and if they want to go in on those Amazon Day deals. So always look for those sale days and do your research on that. Next one that I have here is going to be the big box, and some people might not be too thrilled about this one, but REI is excellent, guys. It really is a great resource for a lot of different camping gear. Biggest sales there are going to be like Black Friday. I think 4th of July is one of their biggies. They have 2 or 3 really big ones throughout the year where they'll run their own sales, and then you might also be able to get a coupon that you can stack on top of that. Not only that, but they have one of the best return policies that I've ever heard of. You can literally return anything that you buy from them if it's under a year. You can go out and you can use it for the majority of the year and then just return it, no questions asked. Now, I wouldn't necessarily advise doing that with most pieces that you have in your kit, and I don't know too many people that kind of abuse that, but I think the fact that that is still around and is still a return policy that they have is pretty excellent. Again, 20% is pretty common there. You can get get even a higher percentage on their garage sales and kind of like overstock sales, where they're trying to push out some of the older stuff, and I'll let you know which one I got on that deal later on in the video. And then the other thing there is you can become a member. It's a $20 one-time like membership fee for life. You just spend 20 bucks and that kind of gets you in on all of these deals. You can also sign up for their credit card and stack even more rewards by using that card to get cash back that you can probably use in store there. I don't have that, but that's another option that you can go with. Another online retailer option that we have here is going to be Garage Grown Gear. And I'll put an asterisk next to that one because it is a little bit newer in the marketplace. They do run sales. They don't usually run big sales, but they do run sales. You just kind of have to look around for them. Why they're great, though, is that they cater to a lot of the smaller cottage vendors. So even people like mom and pop working out of their garage, and they just have a really cool idea for a nifty new piece of gear. So you kind of have to look around on their site to see if they're running any deals. I haven't been able to find a ton on there, but I know that they do run them. And then the last thing here in this category is really just about the cottage vendors themselves. So you can go to each one of these vendors' sites and try to find deals on their sites. You know, different vendors like Zpack, Enlightened Equipment, Hilltop Packs, Gossamer Gear, Sea to Summit. Just go to them directly and try to see if they're running any sales. Again, usually around that Black Friday, Labor Day, Memorial Day. Just, you know, go to their site and just see if they're running anything there. Let's get into another category right now, and let's talk about used gear for a little bit, and a couple other online options here that I would recommend. The first of which is going to be the Facebook general marketplace, as well as any other Facebook groups. So you always have the generic Facebook marketplace, which surprisingly is still pretty poppin', still pretty popular. And then you also have one in particular that I've heard of, which is called the Backpacking Gear Flea Market. That one is specific to seasoned backpackers and people who are really interested in the space. So it's a little bit more protected. You have to be accepted into that group and go through that whole screening process. But once you're in, you have access to some pretty good options there, and there's stuff that's posted almost daily on there. So that's a really good resource as well. And then the other thing that I would say for used gear here is going to be, believe it or not, eBay is still a pretty good option here as far as, and I mean like option as in there are options that are on there. People are still selling actively on there. You are kind of rolling the dice. It's a little bit more dicey there as far as, you know, what exactly you're going to get. But it can actually end up working pretty well. I got a couple of bigger ticket items. I'll tell you about that in a hot second as well from eBay. So there's still that's still a decent option that you can look at there. The one thing that I would say as far as like not to look at here is probably going to be geartrade.com. You might have heard of that one before, but not the best option. There's not a lot of traffic and gear kind of coming and going on that space. Usually they're more of like the bigger box style, like Gregory Osprey, stuff like that. Not as much of the cottage vendor type of stuff on there. So you can try, but you might not get lucky on that one. All right, to round this out here for this first section of the video, let's talk about a couple of more of the in-person style of deals that you can hope to find here. So the first of which I'm going to say is just going to be an extension of the REI garage sale, which is going to be their in-person garage sales. And not just REI, it could be other backpacking gear garage sales, flea markets that might be in your area. That one is a little bit like, as far as like, hey Dave, where do you find those? You kind of have to figure that out. You kind of have to surf the net a little bit to try and figure those out. But I know REI does do a couple of those a year if you have one near you. But it could also be through some other, you know, third-party vendor or whatever. Proceeds could go to something else, right? The biggest thing with that one, obviously, you have to treat it like a traditional garage sale. You got to get there early. You usually don't know what they have. You are kind of rolling the dice on that one. But I know Huck in particular has gone to one or a few of those. So I know he was able to score like ridiculous deals on some brand name stuff. So you don't really know what you're going to get when you go to those things, but it is something different, and you could snag some pretty awesome deals on those. The next thing I'm going to talk about here is going to be just word of mouth. If you're getting into this hobby or whatever we like to call it here, and you have a buddy or buddies, just like ask them like where can I find deals, or if they have pieces of gear that they're looking to get rid of and you're trying to get into the space, try to ask them. The other thing that I would encourage you to do as well is to ask us YouTubers too. We have usually an excess amount of gear that we are not using all of all the time, so just ask around. I've actually scored more than one piece of gear that I actively use from other YouTubers that I kind of took a guess and took a gamble and was kind of like, I don't think they really want to use that piece of gear, so let me reach out to them. And the worst thing that they can say too after you reach out is no, right? So you can just ask them like, hey, are you willing to sell this piece of gear? And you might be surprised there. And then the last thing to round this out here is going to be just ask for a gift card, ask for some cash. If your birthday is coming up, Christmas, or any other holiday is coming up, just ask for, a gift card to REI or some other place or wherever that you want to frequent, and put it towards that. So that's also an option there as well. If you implement all of those in one way or another or in some fashion, you can round out, I would say, 98 to 99% of your gear and get deals on almost every single one of them. What do I mean by that? Let's dive into my gear right here, right now, for the second half of this video here, and let you know about my savings, what I save personally. Now, again, to kind of give this as a disclaimer right here, I probably should have done it at the beginning of the video, but this is my own experience. I'm not going to guarantee that you can get the same type of deals that I was able to get right here. So don't be like hitting me up going like, oh, there's no way that I could ever find that kind of deal or ever kind of snag that kind of deal. Again, a lot of this is personal. You might be able to grab a deal on a piece of gear that I could never get, right? So it's sort of like that. So kind of think of it like that. But this is sort of more of the common themes that I've been able to find, and I think you should be able to get somewhere in the ballpark of this if you're doing your homework and kind of taking notes. All right. Let's dive right in here. I have a decent number of pieces of gear, so I'll try to go a little bit quickly here. First of which I'm going to say is going to be one of the bigger ticket items here, and we're talking about sleeping quilts. I got my UGQ top quilt, the Bandit quilt, on a 20% off on their Black Friday deal. This was a few years back now. They had a 10-week lead time. I didn't even get it until the following year, so be on the lookout for that, or be aware of that. For these smaller vendors, lead times can kind of kill you there. I felt like they ended up going backwards and not really doing as many of these bigger sales, but recently I've seen that kind of come back, which is nice to see. I've seen 15% a couple of times more recently on UGQ there, so definitely be on the lookout for that and any other custom type of gear, because it's going to be more expensive just in general. Next one would be my Enlightened Equipment quilt. I got my Apex Torrid Revelation, the 50-degree version, so the warmer weather sleeping bag synthetic version, on one of their overstock sales or their garage sales. This site is particularly great as far as like overstock, and look at their garage sales, because they not only, when they do a new drop, like follow them on social media and whatnot, but when they do a new drop, it's usually a huge drop, and the defects aren't usually even that bad. They're usually pretty descriptive as far as like getting something that is at a bigger discount. But for my example, in personal use case here, I ended up getting my version for somewhere around $150, and I think it normally goes for $200 or just over $200. So slightly used on that one. Next one to round out the quilts is going to be my Outdoor Vitals Storm Loft quilt. I think they might have a newer version of this one now. There wasn't really like a big deal on this one. I signed up for their what I'm calling a scam of a membership, which is their Live Ultralight membership. And the reason why I say be wary of that one is because it's a little bit difficult to get rid of that membership. If you sign up for it, you kind of have to go through their email chain. I'm not sure if that's changed. This is about a year or so ago now. But I signed up to get like 10% off, and they gave me like a free Toke spoon or something like that. So not a huge discount there. They don't usually do ridiculous discounts, but I've noticed recently, particularly if they have a new version of something, then their older version might be closer to 50% off. So an example of that would be their Altitude Sun hoodie, which I really like. They kind of discontinued their old one because they had new tech in the new one, so just be on the lookout for stuff like that. Next one I can tell you is an Amazon purchase here. One of my favorite illumination pieces, which is my Rivon Flashlight that I clip onto my brim. I got that for about $5 off on Amazon. Again, not a crazy discount, but that was me just kind of looking at the wish list there and waiting for it to drop. But I'd say that's about, typical, not a huge discount, but there's saving $5 nevertheless. Next one I'm going to say is for anything titanium here. And I totally understand if you don't want to do this. If you don't want to support mainland China here, then you don't have to use this tip. But I would say anything titanium in general is probably going to be a little bit more expensive. So I would recommend going through either AliExpress or through the manufacturers over on that end, because you can end up saving close to 50%, and that includes shipping as well, over what you're able to get here in the States. Think about Toques, Snow Peak, I think Evernew, a couple of the other brand names. The prices for titanium are just super high, so you're able to get them at super steep discounts on AliExpress. They're usually knockoffs because they're all based off of the same prototype that they manufacture kind of everything off of. So you gotta think about your pot, you gotta think about your Toques style long titanium spoon, as well as like a Vargo Dig style, your poop trowel, all that stuff you can get at a pretty steep discount over there. The next deal that I got here is going to be let's talk about my Zpack gear. So for the bigger ticket Zpack stuff, I never recommend spending normal MSRP because it's going to be stupid expensive. Some of the most expensive stuff that you can get. I was able to get a couple of my backpacks. I have a Robic version of their Arc Haul as well as the Nero off of eBay, and I ended up getting both of them right around the $200 mark. So especially the Arc Haul, that pack new went for probably close to $350, $400. So that was close to 50% off. And then the Nero wasn't as steep of a discount there. I think that one normally goes for around $250, so I got about $50 off on that one. Both of them were slightly used. The Haul was a little bit more than the Nero, but the Nero was almost brand new when I got it, so that was excellent. Let's get into a couple of pads here next. I'm going to talk about my X-Ped 1R pad and then my Sea to Summit uninsulated pad, so 2 uninsulated pads. This one I used the REI discount. I think both of them I got at 20%. X-Ped I might have gotten on one of their sales. It might have been even cheaper. That one I got and it was a long and wide mummy for a little bit over $100. And the Sea to Summit pads are a little bit more expensive, but I got that one at 20% off. And again, if you don't like them, I can't stress enough, go with the REI stuff, because if you don't like it, you can return it, and that's an excellent feature. The next one that I'll talk about briefly, because it wasn't really much of a discount, I got the new Zenbivy 4.8 value R-value pad at I think it's just their ultralight pad at a 10% off discount. It was one of the sales that they were running, but any of their latest and greatest tech or some of the best stuff that they sell, they have the ultralight stuff now, didn't really have as steep a discount as the heavier stuff. And then they also charge you for shipping on Zenbivy, which is kind of a bummer, so I didn't really get much of a discount there, so I can't recommend them 100%, even though, it is a pretty good product. The next one I'm going back to REI here, I'll tell you about is the REI Flexlight Air Chair. It's sort of like their version of the Helinox Zero chair, the 1 pound option. I got mine years back for $75 each. Normal MSRP, I think it's still around $100, but I've seen them as low as 50% off and $50. And again, I think that was around their 4th of July sale. But and that is the rock bottom that I've seen. I was really tempted to just get another chair or two at that price because I really enjoy mine, but mine are still going strong a few years later here, so that's a pretty good discount on that, particularly because I think Helinox is up there $1.50 now for their version, so that's a really good discount. Next one I'll talk about here is my Thermarest pillow. I got it for a few bucks less, sort of like the Rivon on Amazon, and not much really to say. That's their small compressible pillow that I got, so not a huge discount. Again, maybe a few bucks here or there. I think the price on that one had gone up as well over the last few years, but was able to get that somewhere around 20, 25 bucks back in the day. Next one, bigger discount here is going to be the ever so popular Mountain Hardwear Ghost Whisper puffy jacket shell. I ended up getting that one for 50% off on Amazon. I think it normally goes for somewhere around $325 to $350. Again, I got mine around 50% off. What's the math on that? I don't know, $1.60, $1.70, something like that. And I thought I was doing really good at the time before I should have really given a look at Decathlon. They were like 90 bucks. I think they're like 100, 110 now. So you can still save some money and just go with Decathlon at their normal price there. But that was a pretty good deal on that puffy. Next one here, I'll talk about the REI garage sale. I ended up getting my shoes, my trail runners, the Ultra Timp 3s, and this was right as the 4s were kind of coming out, or I think they were already out, so a previous model there, but I like the look of these better. I got those 50% off at REI as well, and they were brand new at the time. That's a little bit more dicey. You have to really like see if they have your size and everything, but they did. And I think I got them for like 70, 75 bucks for the pair, brand new. So that was a really good deal as well. They normally go for about $1.50, brand new. All right, rounding it out here, only got a couple left. The first of which is going to be a Gossamer Gear, the 1/10, as well as their Mariposa backpack. I ended up, I think this was through my buddy Snackbox. He had either like a 15 or 20% off coupon that he had heard about, but they often run somewhere around that, like 15, 20% off on their sales. They're one of the better sites at giving you sales on their gear. So yeah, whatever that is, I think it was about 20% off of both of those items, and that was brand new for both of those. And then rounding this out here, the last one that I'll speak briefly on and not really give you any information on, but just let you know that I ended up getting both my Zpack Plex Solo tent and my Jetboil Stash pot. I got those from other YouTubers. You might have heard of who those YouTubers are on the Gearholics podcast, but I've never mentioned, and I won't mention what I actually saved on them, because I just want to, protect the other guys and who I got them from. But believe me when I say that I got them at a discount. So again, hit up other YouTubers, hit up people who you think might want to get rid of gear, and you'd be surprised sometimes what kind of deals you can get there as well. So that's going to do it. I think that pretty much covers the exhaustive list. Sorry this one ran a little bit longer, but I wanted to give you a full in-depth breakdown of all the different pieces of gear that kind of round out your kit and where you can find those deals and discounts. If I missed anything here, let me know in the comments down below. I also want to know what kind of deals you were able to grab personally on the stuff that you love and use in the backcountry as well. Let me know all about it in the comments down below. Thanks for dealing with me for over 20 minutes here. Appreciate you guys. Remember, if you headed off grid, make sure you do your research and you make it a safe one, and I'll catch you on the next one.